The throne room of the Zyn'thari Empire was a cavernous expanse of shimmering obsidian and bioluminescent veins that pulsed with an otherworldly glow. At its center sat Queen Xylara, her iridescent exoskeleton glinting under the soft light, her multifaceted eyes scanning the room with a cold, calculating gaze. She was the undisputed ruler of her kind, a species known for their ruthless efficiency and unmatched intellect. Yet, beneath her regal exterior, there was a void, a deep, aching emptiness that no amount of conquest or power could fill. It had been cycles since the death of her mate, Prince Zorath, in the Great War against the Kryll. His loss had left her fractured, a shadow of the vibrant queen she once was. The Zyn'thari believed in soul bonds, a connection so profound that it transcended death. Xylara had felt hers snap the moment Zorath fell, and since then she had been adrift, a queen without a heart. Her advisors had tried to console her, suggesting she take a new mate, but Xylara had dismissed them all. No one could replace Zorath. No one could even come close. That was until he arrived. The human was brought before her as part of a prisoner exchange. The Zyn'thari had captured a group of human soldiers during a skirmish on the Outer Rim, and this one, designated as Prisoner 47, had been singled out for his unusual behavior. While the others cowered or raged, he stood tall, his piercing blue eyes scanning the room with a calm defiance that intrigued Xylara. "Step forward," she commanded, her voice a melodic yet commanding hum. The human obeyed, his movements deliberate and unhurried. He was tall for his species, with broad shoulders and a chiseled jawline. His dark hair was cropped short, and a faint scar ran along his left cheek. But it was his eyes that held her captive, eyes that seemed to see straight through her, as if they knew her deepest secrets. "State your name," she demanded. "Captain Elias Kane," he replied, his voice steady. "Of the United Earth Alliance." Xylara tilted her head, studying him. There was something about him, something familiar. It tugged at the edges of her memory, like a half-forgotten dream. She dismissed the feeling as mere curiosity. Humans were beneath her notice, after all. Yet, she couldn't bring herself to look away. "You will serve as my personal guard," she declared, surprising even herself. The advisors murmured in disapproval, but a single glance from Xylara silenced them. "Your life is mine now, Captain Kane. Do not make me regret this decision." Elias nodded, his expression unreadable. "As you wish, Your Majesty." Days turned into weeks, and Elias proved to be an enigma. He was quiet, observant, and fiercely loyal. He followed Xylara everywhere, a silent shadow at her side. At first, she found his presence unnerving, but over time she grew accustomed to it. There was a strange comfort in his nearness, a sense of calm she hadn't felt in cycles. One evening, as they walked through the palace gardens, Xylara found herself speaking to him, not as a queen to a servant, but as one soul to another. She told him of Zorath, of their bond, and of the emptiness his death had left behind. Elias listened without judgment, his eyes never leaving hers. "I understand loss," he said quietly. "I lost my entire unit in the war. They were more than comrades, they were family." Xylara felt a pang of sympathy, an emotion she hadn't experienced in a long time. "How do you bear it?" she asked. "You don't," he replied. "You carry it with you like a weight. But you keep moving forward because that's what they would want." His words resonated with her, stirring something deep within. For the first time in cycles, she felt a flicker of hope. As the days passed, Xylara began to notice the similarities between Elias and Zorath. It wasn't just their physical appearance, though the resemblance was uncanny, but their mannerisms, their quiet strength, even the way they smiled. It was as if Zorath's soul had been reborn in this human, a mirror of her lost love. The realization struck her like a thunderbolt. She tried to dismiss it as mere coincidence, but the more time she spent with Elias, the harder it became to deny. Her heart, long dormant, began to stir, and with it came a flood of emotions she had thought buried forever. One night, as they stood on the palace balcony overlooking the city, Xylara turned to Elias. "Do you believe in soul bonds?" she asked. He hesitated, then nodded. "I do. I think some connections are too powerful to be broken, even by death." Her breath caught in her throat. "Do you think it's possible for souls to find each other again?" Elias met her gaze. His eyes filled with a quiet intensity. "I think if two souls are meant to be together, they'll find a way." In that moment, Xylara felt the walls around her heart crumble. She reached out, her hand trembling as she touched his cheek. "Elias!" He leaned into her touch, his expression softening. "Xylara!" The sound of her name on his lips was her undoing. She closed the distance between them, her exoskeleton brushing against his skin as their lips met in a kiss that was both tender and fierce. It was a kiss that spoke of longing and loss, of hope and redemption. A kiss that felt like coming home. But their happiness was short-lived. The Kryll, emboldened by their previous victory, launched a surprise attack on the Zyn'thari capital. The palace was thrown into chaos as explosions rocked the city and enemy forces descended from the skies. Elias fought valiantly, his every move a testament to his skill and determination. He stayed by Xylara's side, protecting her with a ferocity that left even the Zyn'thari warriors in awe. But the odds were against them. As they made their way to the escape pods, a Kryll ambush cut them off. Elias pushed Xylara out of harm's way, taking the full force of the attack. He fell to his knees, blood staining his uniform as the life drained from his eyes. "No!" Xylara screamed, her voice raw with anguish. She cradled his body in her arms, tears streaming down her face. "You can't leave me. Not again." Elias smiled weakly, his hand reaching up to touch her cheek. "I'll always be with you," he whispered. "In this life, and the next." And then he was gone. The Kryll were defeated, but the victory was hollow. Xylara returned to her throne, her heart heavier than ever. She had found love again, only to lose it once more. But this time it was different. This time, she knew that love was not bound by time or space, by life or death. It was eternal. As she gazed out over her empire, she felt a presence beside her, a warmth that filled the void in her soul. She smiled, knowing that Elias, her Zorath, was with her always. And in the quiet moments when the world was still, she could almost hear his voice, whispering the words that gave her strength. "I'll always be with you."